Now moving on to USD Swiss, we can see on the daily time frame that we've had that break of structure in towards the upside. We have our swing low and we have our swing high. Now we also have had this internal break of structure, and therefore for me this is a protected low and should not get broken. If we do see a break and a close below this low, I'd potentially reevaluate and maybe expect some lower prices. But for now, I'm anticipating some downside or just waiting. I don't necessarily think that we are definitely going to see some downside, because we've got strength coming into the dollar and we've got weakness coming into the Swiss franc, and therefore it does just make sense to see this trickle on up. But for me, I don't really want to force a trade. I'd rather see some points of liquidity get taken, and then you can frame that higher probability trade idea. What is slightly frustrating though is if we do go down to the 4-hour time frame, we can see that price action has been relatively clean. If we zoom in a little bit on the most recent price action, as you can see, we've had like a 4-hour break of structure here. This would have been our swing high, this would have been our swing low. We came down, we liquidated a point of liquidity, we switched from a better supply in control to demand in control, and then we see higher prices. Same here, we see a break of structure, we've got price coming down. If we see points of liquidity get taken, you could then look for that next move up following the internal structure. The one thing I don't like about this is, as I said, if we have a look at the wider swing range, just even on the 4-hour, this is our most recent break of structure. So this whole zone here for me is like a red zone where I don't really want to be taking continuation trades, because it's sometime in the near future we will need to see some downside to see some points of liquidity get taken, and there's a lot of open liquidity here that is an easy target. So now moving on to USD yen, we can see we have had that break of structure in towards the upside, but we are just seeing price sort of stall and maybe trickle up a little bit higher. We are at 163 levels, and at some point, I know I sound like a broken record, but we will see that intervention, and this pair will dump in towards the downside along with all other yen pairs. And finally onto USDCAD, we've had this daily break of structure, in towards the upside, and this is the current swing range. Now, as you can see, we have seen pullback beginning to materialize, but I'd still like to see some lower prices down towards some significant points of liquidity, where I can then start framing a higher probability trade idea long. If we go down onto the 4-hour time frame, it's relatively similar. We've had our most recent break of structure over here, and similar to USD Swiss, we're trading in this red zone after the break of structure, where we want to see some lower prices towards significant points of liquidity, where we can frame that next trade idea long.